Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast, helping higher education marketing leaders share knowledge about learning, strategies, and tactics that are relevant today. See what you can learn today by listening to one of our episodes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast hosted by Concept 3D. If you like our content, please follow and subscribe to us on Spotify, Google, or Apple. Throw us a comment if you're on Apple as well. We'd love to hear what you think about the show. My name is Shiro Tori, and I will be your host today. And I'm thrilled to talk about the power of higher ed branding and how that can lead to double-digit growth. And to discuss that topic today, I have a special guest. Meloney Linder is going to be joining us today. Meloney is serving as the Vice President for Marketing Communications at the University of North Dakota, which we'll be referencing it also as UND throughout this conversation today. Meloney, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
It's great to have you. And if you've listened to the episodes before, I do ask all my guests this icebreaker, which is, please tell me what you love about higher ed.
Oh my gosh, I love higher ed. I love the energy of higher ed. I like the cyclical nature of the higher ed, but most important, I truly believe in higher ed. So I love the fact that I get to go to work every day doing something I truly believe in.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Can you start us off a little bit about your background and your role here today?
So as you mentioned, I am the Vice President for Marketing and Communications at the University of North Dakota. I've just finished up my 6th year here at UND. Before that, I was at the University of Wisconsin-Madison at their School of Business. And before that, I was at a small teaching institution, University of Texas at Brownsville, which is now the University of Texas, RGV for the Rio Grande Valley. But before that, I was in private sector. So I'm one of those individuals that started out my career in marketing in private sector, started working with higher ed clients and realized how much I loved education and made the switch over.
Thank you. That's awesome. Well, I know you love talking about branding, and so this will be a key theme for today. And, the power of higher ed branding and how that's actually led to significant results at UND. Can you tell us a little bit more about why brand? Like, why is that important in higher ed today?
Well, branding is who you are. It's the institution as a whole, and it will outlive all of us that are in our current chairs. When your brand is strong, people understand what are the core values of your institution or your organization, and they have those points of pride of why, for us, why UND is great. So our brand is leader in action. We're doers. We get things done. We're Midwest modest. We roll up our sleeves and we do the work. So when we're talking about our branding, we tell stories or facts around items that actually just reinforce that. When you and I met originally, I talked to you about how UND had a logo issue back in about 2012. We were the Fighting Sioux. We were told by the NCAA that we needed to change our logo. And we, not unlike most institutions of higher ed, a lot of our brand was around athletics. So this was a real pivotal issue for us. The university then did a great deal of research about what makes UND great. And that's where Leaders in Actions came out. When I was hired, the Leader in Action brand had gone through the research phase. My job was to bring it to life with the team that was in place. So we moved into the storytelling mode of why we are leaders in actions. We highlight our amazing faculty, our amazing students, and we tell stories about our achievements around the academic areas. In addition to athletics, athletics is always an important part of institutions of higher ed. It's a lot of community building, but the university as a whole is so much more than that. And so if you're able to build a brand through storytelling and have consistency in how that is done, it creates that halo effect. The other piece that I think is really important that the University of North Dakota has done is we are closely aligned with our sister institution, our Alumni Association and Foundation. They're a separate entity, but when we created the Leader in Action brand, the Alumni Association and Foundation adopted that and are so closely aligned in how they do their storytelling and how we do our storytelling. And we actually share assets and stories on a pretty regular basis because, again, talking about that halo, whether you're talking to prospective students, parents, community stakeholders, or you're talking to alumni, you're one institution. So that consistency creates a greater halo than any one entity on its own.
That's fantastic that you were able to get, three different areas come together on one brand because yeah, I mean, I think it's very hard to calculate or measure this, but so many students do end up going to an institution because of or applying to an institution because of a referral, whether it's a friend, family member, right? Someone they know. It has so much impact that's really hard
Yes.
to calculate and measure. But I think you talking about that halo effect is spot on that it compounds into more later down the road.
And if I can add to that, sure, you mentioned measuring it can be really difficult. One of the things that I think is really important is measurement because we do a brand health survey that mirrors what was done with the initial brand development, but we add on additional pieces to it so we have a better understanding how prospective students may view us now. But that brand health survey we do every 2 years. It goes out to faculty, staff, alumni, key stakeholders to the university, including the Grand Forks community, which is where we're located. And we send it to prospective students. And those prospective students come from lists that they may or may not have any familiarity with the University of North Dakota. So when we get those results back, and we've been doing it now since the first one was in 2017, we have enough data to show where we're moving the needle with the brand. And we can also see where there's dips. And then you're able to adjust accordingly to make sure that you're hitting the high marks in the areas that you want to hit the high marks. But just as importantly, you may see areas where you're not doing as well, or your brand is not seen as favorably as you'd like it to do. And then those are areas that you need to focus some attention on. So while the brand, as you said, sometimes can be difficult to measure, there are ways that you can do that to get some insights that are extremely powerful, and it's worth the investment of time and dollars.
Are you willing to share it if there are any, points within the last five years since the rebrand that, you learned from these results and measurements?
Well, as I mentioned to you, we had the athletic logo issue.
Right.
And that always comes up as a major issue because, an athletic logo is an affinity for alums and community members that are highly tied. But what we've seen over time is that we are making great headway in other areas where that logo issue isn't as big of as a pain point as it was when we first started. It still is a major issue primarily with alumni, but the data points of where they have other proof points to talk about some of our amazing academic programs continues to rise. So it starts to balance out. So that's been really helpful because often we'll get questioned by alumni or donors or just community members in general about their affinity to the old logo. But then we start talking about, well, when we're measuring it, we're also seeing that people actually are really starting to talk about some of our just really key academic programs as being just as important. So now you have some data to have stronger conversations with stakeholders when questioned.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And one thing I heard from you telling me the story is don't act on your results in year one, right? You need a plan that is more forward thinking, 5 to 10 years, because you're seeing the data change through the couple of years, and it's helping to reflect that this was potentially the right call to make. So,
and just for a little bit of fun, we always hear that we're cold, and yes, we do live in North Dakota, and it is cold. But even hearing that in the first couple of surveys, we actually have a lot of fun in the winter too. So that was a charge in our marketing to say, how do we show that you can have a great time in the winter too? That's
just great. That's amazing. And so you said, you were brought on, some of the research had already been done. Was it Leaders in Action? Is that right?
Leaders in Action.
That branding had already been put in place, but you were responsible for executing it. Was that once you joined the team, that launch of a new brand happened after you joined the team?
came on, they were just starting to try to roll it out, and they had a first phase of, I would say, the graphic elements around the brand.
Gotcha. So you were there, like right there at the execution moment.
I was. And I have to say, it was about the storytelling, right? People seeing themselves, and whether it was recruitment materials, whether it was stories going out in our newsletters, we kept re-emphasizing that we lead and we're doers, those brand pillars. And then over time, we did a lot of road shows around campus as well, getting our various schools and colleges and other divisions trained on the brand, trained on the importance of why consistency of the brand creates that halo effect. Because in the marketplace, it doesn't matter what piece they're seeing from the university, be coming from a school or college or be coming from the main university, it's just UND. And so that consistency is really important because it creates that repetition and the reach about the brand. If everybody is doing their own thing, it can get really muddled, right? And it's harder to have I'd say people see Kelly Green in our neck of the woods, as we like to say, they know it's UND, right? People, when we just did our new strategic plan, it launched about a year ago now. The committee came up, our new pillars are leads, learning, equity, affinity, discovery, service. It's right on brand. That wasn't even our team that suggested it. That really was the community saying, well, we're leaders. Like, we need to put that out there. And so when you have that level of buy-in, people start to see themselves in it, then that happens kind of organically, which is a really powerful place to be.
That's amazing. And was this one of your first times you've been a part of a rebrand execution? Like, how did you feel in that moment?
No, this is about my fourth or fifth
Nice.
rebrand.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I've been doing this for a long time.
That's amazing. So you have confidence. That helps.
Well, I have experience, which can help you sometimes know where some of the landmines are and see pathways to get buy-in a little bit easier as well.
That's amazing. And you're a part of the second strategic planning process, which seems to be building upon the last one that you were a part of, which is really good to see.
It is, a strategic plan, like a brand, it lives, right? And institutions of higher ed evolved based on the needs of our community and the broader community as a whole, because we need to be responsive. So yeah, they're all evolutions, so to speak.
Gotcha. And, it sounds like you've had a lot of experience with this. And I don't think every school is going to have to change their logo, to new restrictions or laws. But, how can someone in your position like start the conversation if brand is not a priority at their institution at the moment?
Start by listening. Find out why people are not buying into the brand. Start there. It's always important to understand the pain points and where the gaps are. Once you know that, then you can start having conversations about, as the central organization that oversees the brand, how you can bridge those pain points and have conversations about how speaking with one voice, one appearance creates a halo for everyone. Every institution, well, most institutions of higher ed, there's not an unlimited budget for marketing. So you have to work smarter, particularly in this current time frame when the enrollment competition is stronger than it's ever been. As we're reaching that enrollment cliff that they say is coming in 2026, you have to be smarter with your dollars. And having a strong brand and having consistent branding gives you that level of repetition and reach that you need from your brand. So when you can explain that to your stakeholders and say, just our pieces match your pieces, and show them the overall appearance that it gives, it helps. The other thing that's really important is, again, making it easy for people. What are, we have tons of templates and we have training videos, and you name it, you ask for it, our team will create it to make it easy for you. So there's things that people can do that self-serve, again, easy. And then there are things we say we can engage and we can set you up for success for the long term. Make yourself and your division a valuable resource that people want to go to because they know the level of quality is going to be there. Everybody wants to represent themselves and their program, their college in the most professional way possible. So be that resource that helps them do that. The other phase of it is really about data collection, and I'm a real believer in data. It tells you what's working and it tells you what's not working. I'm a real believer if something's not working, that's not punitive. That means change, try something new, stop, but you don't want to keep doing what you've been doing, and data will help you with that. And when you have that data, then you can share that with your stakeholders, and that continues to show the power of the brand, the power of the marketing that you have in the marketplace that is bringing the students to your front door. And it's been, we report out at a minimum twice a year, each fall semester and spring semester, to all of our stakeholders in our school and colleges so that they're able to see the work that's happening. We do that from a recruitment perspective, we do that from a brand health perspective, and we do it from a media relations perspective as well.
Can you tell me a little bit more about like the numbers that people like, or your executives, right? Your those above you like to hear and see? Because I'm assuming like impressions on a social media campaign, that's too detailed, right? Like how do you roll that information up? Because there's so much data.
There is. So from a media perspective, people want to know where UND and our faculty are being seen on a national, regional, and local level. And they love seeing big names, big national publications, and they like to see trends over time. They also like to see how you're faring compared to what you would deem as your major competitors. And then I always like to throw in a few aspirational peers in there too, because you want to have a target to shoot for. When it comes from the brand health survey, again, those are key points, whether it's academics, locations, just general brand. They like to see just how are we doing in present time, and then how are we improving over time. So we give them snapshots of where we've seen incremental growth over time. And the thing to keep in mind with a brand is you are not going to move that needle to a grand scale in one cycle. A brand is part of the DNA and it takes time. So incremental improvements, I always like to say 1 foot forward, baby steps get you there. So monitoring that progress over time from when we started it to where we are now, you're starting to see some significant improvement. Then when it comes to recruitment, we show how our advertising converts to people inquiring about programs who then inquire and apply. And now we're then able to see apply to deposit to enroll. And so they're wanting to see, again, what are those conversion rates? Some of it marketing can control, some of it we're a strategic partner, because when you're looking at converting applications to deposits to enroll, you start to hand some of that off to other areas. You're still a partner, but it's collectively. So they want to see that you're tracking all points of that funnel for the prospective student.
That's great. I mean, if you're struggling to report metrics up, you just have to listen to the last 2 minutes there. That was fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing
Metrics
all
are
that.
key.
Right. And I mean, this is like marketing 101, right? A lot of this I can relate to, as well as, we have partners in sales, right? That we talk to, and we do hand some of the business that way. And, we do work as a team in order to bring more sales. And so I completely agree with that process. And that's been great. Do you ever report on team as well? Like I know people like your headcount, right? Your employee and staff is something harder to report on, but it made me think about that for some reason.
So, I think a key way to track how the team is doing is one gets to your basics, but retention.
Gotcha. Yep.
If you're keeping your team is happy, they produce well. If you're having a high turnover rate, something is wrong, and you need to then take a look at why. So we don't necessarily in our division report on that piece. It's something that I monitor within my division, and I know the university as a whole will take a look at that. Another indicator, again, this will be your brand, but it's related to your question of team, is your recruiting of faculty and staff. We often talk just about the students, but if you have a strong and healthy brand and and people that are within the institution love and are ambassadors for the institution, then your recruiting of top talent is going to be easier as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Another like compounding
Yeah.
derivative of a good brand is recruiting of staff and faculty. That's fantastic. Yeah, just moving on a little bit more, you talked a
Mhm.
lot about data, which is amazing. Can you tell us some of the student success metrics that UND has seen since 2019?
Sure. So when we've spoken before, I had mentioned we're really proud of our retention rate. Our retention rate right now is it's just under, it's like 82.96, so just under 83%, which is fantastic. And it's the highest that it's been for us since the North Dakota University system started recording retention rates. So we're doing really good. Because, that's the goal. You get students here and you want them to graduate. And our graduation rates are doing really well as well. So we have a 39% graduation rate at 4 years. It jumps to 55.72 at the 5-year mark, and we're at 63.33 at the 6-year mark. And that is just having continual improvement. Where marketing and communication plays a role in that. I mean, we obviously work to help get students here, but we also want to make sure when they're here, they're successful. So we work very closely on communicating and marketing resources for our students, whether it's advising, whether it's mental health, wellness. We do a great deal of work about reminders for people to register for classes, apply for your housing, you name it. And we always have to have new ways of doing it. Email used to be the end all be all, and our students just don't read email, or if they do, they still need to see it in one or more ways. We found texting to be highly successful, but texting in a very methodical way, meaning you can't text about everything or it becomes spam and students are going to unsubscribe or completely tune you out. So we're really thoughtful to make sure it's about deadlines. It's about emergency communications. Up here in North Dakota, we sometimes have snowstorms. Texting is a great way to let students know if the campus is closing or going to be closed. So be methodical about that. Also have a communication matrix, because as I mentioned, you can't just communicate one way. People need to hear and see a message in a multitude of ways for it to register. So that's something to keep in mind too. Like we have a UND app, we have the website, we have email, we have our learning management system in addition to texting. And those are just a few ways, that we're able to communicate with our students that keep them engaged on campus, keep them feeling like they're part of the community, and able to get them to the academic support that they need, and then their well-being support as well.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I know. I mean, I think when it came to calendars, thinking back to my college days, the academic calendar is the one calendar I looked at the most because it's when all the deadlines
Yep.
are. And I'd imagine if I got a
Yeah.
text message about that, that'd be super, super helpful.
I wish they had that when I was in school too. Would have been a lot
Yeah.
easier.
I can tell you one, I missed the deadline for signing up for my dorm room. So I got paired with a RA during my welcome week in the first 2 months of my freshman experience. So that
I'm
was
sure you had a
interesting.
wonderful experience, but maybe not the one you were hoping
Yeah.
for.
It was very
Yes.
interesting. Still good. It's a fun story now. It's a blip in time.
Yes.
So well, that's great. Awesome. Well, I think we're just about time now. I'm wondering where our listeners can follow up with you, Meloney, to figure out, some of the good work you're doing, or if they have any questions to directly message you.
Yeah, they can directly message me. My email address is Meloney, Melony.Linder, Linder, at UND.edu, or they can find me on LinkedIn. And happy to answer any questions that people might have.
Well, thank you so much again for joining us and sharing all that information with us today. It's been a delightful conversation, and thanks to all the listeners for tuning in. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.